All right, this is a video for, I got an email sent to me by DirtyMan000, and the question was simply, when I die, what do I believe will happen to me? Or something along that effect. Actually, here, when you die, do you believe you will have a life in a different form or not in the form of your body? Here's what I believe happens when you die. Your consciousness ends. Okay, I was going to write back yes and no. I do believe you have another life, but in a different form. But when guys understand that your body, the physical thing that I call my body, this thing here, is not the same body I had when I was 7. Okay, every single molecule in my body when I was 7 is now gone. Okay, we start off as a one-celled zygote, okay, and that's our body at that point, and then that splits and makes more cells, and we take in different energy, we take in different atoms, and we metabolize and change, and cells die and cells grow, and that's just how it goes. So the only thing that links me, okay, from now to Matt 2 minutes ago, to Matt 2 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, is my consciousness. That's it. I remember what it was like when I was 7, and I don't remember it that much, actually. And I don't remember anything before I was 2. And so the point is that the only linkage is that I know that this person has changed, but who I am right now is not who I will be 20 years from now, and it's not who I was 20 years before. And so when I die, all that dies is my consciousness. Okay, the ability to remember who I was. That's what death is, and the body that I have will move on into something else. It will just change. It will decay. The atoms will leave, and it will go into the earth, and go into space, and go into molecules, and go into all kinds of stuff. Okay, and it will just change and form again. So the conservation of energy. There is no loss or gain of energy that only transforms into different forms, and so I'm constantly changing to different forms. So the person I am is different at any given time. So the end of the consciousness is really what I feel is the end of is what we call death, the end of the brain activity. Okay, that causes our consciousness, and that's it. If our heart stops beating, we actually have brought people back. As the heart stops beating, the only thing that we can't bring back is when these neurons stop firing, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to change that too, and keep this thing moving for a lot longer than it actually does. But that's really all I believe happens when it's death. I don't believe our consciousness goes into something else. I don't believe our consciousness goes into a heaven or something else, other kind of being. I believe it goes back to where it was when I was when in the 18th century, non-existence. Okay, Mark Twain has a great quote. I was dead for millions and millions of years before I became alive. Why should I be scared of being dead afterwards? It didn't affect me beforehand, and it's not going to affect me afterwards. Once I die, I'm done, and the consciousness is done, and the body moves on. So that's really my answer to you. I figured I'd do a video of that as opposed to just typing it all in. I don't like typing so much, but I thank you for the question, and I wish everyone else would would put a post as to what they believe happens when you die. I think it's kind of interesting. But one other thing I do want to mention is that understand your brain only understands life. Okay, our brain has never been dead, so it doesn't really know what it's like to be dead. All it can do is come up with things that we consciously understand. If you ever watch any of the videos on 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional space, we understand. There's a cartoon of somebody who lived in 2-dimensional space. It would not understand up or down. They would just understand 2 dimensions, left and right, back and forth. And so something going through that, they can't even comprehend it. It doesn't even make sense to them. Like 4-dimensional space doesn't make sense to my brain because we didn't evolve in 4-dimensional space. So we don't understand those types of things. It doesn't affect us, and so it's really hard to kind of comprehend what that is. And so it's the same thing for our brain with death. Our brain has never been dead. It's only been alive. So it only knows how to it only understands life. That's why we come up with these silly stories about life after death. Okay, like there's more stuff for our consciousness afterwards because your brain doesn't get it. It can't cope with the fact that it will end, and it doesn't understand what it's like not to think. All right, if you want to understand what it's like not to think, try just sitting and closing your eyes for 10 minutes and just don't think about anything. Try to just think about nothing, absolutely nothing, and try to turn that little voice. And don't have that little voice in your head going, okay, stop thinking about stuff, stop thinking. That little voice that going on in your head, try to turn that off and think about absolutely nothing. It is the hardest thing in the world to do. Your brain has a very hard time shutting off, and because it doesn't understand what it's like to be shut off. And so to think about nothing, and don't even sit there and go think about nothing, because you're thinking about talking, you're thinking about this, but you'll feel stuff, you'll get itches, your brain will tell you to focus, you'll hear that little voice constantly in your head talking to you all the time if you just try to be quiet for a couple of minutes and see what happens. And so the brain doesn't understand what it's like to be dead, so we come up with stories that make us feel better, like, oh, we're going to heaven, or we're moving on, or we're going to turn into an ant or a plant, or we're going to turn into a conscious something else. Consciousness just ends. All right. So again, thanks for the question. I love questions like that. It helps me do videos as opposed to screeching at people who don't know what the heck they're talking about on religious videos. So that's it. Bye.